The X-Zone radio and TV show is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone radio and TV show or in any manner endorsed by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, Talkstar Radio Network, its affiliated stations, or employees.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell. David Icke is our very special guest for these first 2 hours of tonight's show. David's website is www.davidicke.com. That's DAVIDICKE.com. David, thanks again for joining us today. And before we went to the news at the top of the hour, we were just starting to talk about the nature of reality.
Yeah, this journey of nearly 20 years now has shown me one thing, among many, that to understand what's happening in the world, you have to understand, or at least have a reasonable understanding of so many different subjects, everything from ancient history to, the modern world, to the nature of reality. If a reasonable understanding of the nature of what's facing us can be understood. And most important is the nature of reality, and it's very clear when you do the research that this world we think is so solid and so quote real is just an illusion. The reason that physicists have this conundrum between a apparently solid world made up of atoms that have no solidity. How can that be? Is because it's not a solid world. That's how it can be. We are living in what I call the holographic internet. The only place that this physical world apparently out there exists is in our minds when we decode it into this holographic, apparently three-dimensional reality. If you think of the Internet, the only place where the Internet exists in terms that we understand the Internet, websites, graphics, texts, is actually on the computer screen. Everywhere else, the Internet is electronic circuits and on-off electrical pulses, etc. The only place that television exists, as we understand television, moving pictures on the screen, is on the screen. Everywhere else, it's electronic circuits and frequency fields, which exist all around us, but we don't see them, we're not aware of them, until we tune the television to a particular channel, and then bingo, apparently miraculously out of the ether comes these television pictures. And I think the best analogy for what I'm talking about actually is the wireless internet. I'm sitting in this room now, and I'm looking around, and it's just a room with walls and furniture and everything. I can't see the wireless internet. But if I get a computer and open it up and tune it in to the internet, bingo, up on the screen comes the internet out of apparently nowhere. In the Matrix movies where the Morpheus character is saying the Matrix is everywhere, it's in this room, is here, is there, and exactly. Because it's like a wireless internet. It's something that is all around us, and we, like a television set or a computer, because I say the body is a biological computer. By biological, it has the ability to think for itself up to a point. It's constantly not only picking up environmental information of various kinds and reacting according to program, it's also assessing that information and actually making decisions on it. This is happening all the time. And this is how, on the so-called physical level, we have what we call evolution, where the body computer is picking up environmental information, and as the environment changes, so it is reacting to that. And this is how, when environments change, animal species can change over a period of time to match and sync with the new environment.
All right, David, stand by. We've got to take a 2-minute break. David Icke and I will be back on the other side of this break as we continue live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network. David's website is www.davidicke.com. My name's Rob McConnell. This is the X.
Well, no one told me about her, the way she lied. Well, no one told me about to say you're sorry. How would I know? Why should I care? Please don't bother trying to find her. She's not there.
David Icke is our special guest. And David, if all this reality is really not reality but part of a matrix, where does the actual threat from the one world order or the total ruling by one party come in if we're just basically imagining all this?
Well, imagining it, we're decoding it into holographic reality. It exists in an energetic form, just as television programs exist in an energetic form before the television decodes them into pictures. We're decoding those energetic forms into holographic, apparently three-dimensional pictures, which appear to be out there when they're actually only happening in a decoding way in our minds. The author Michael Tolbert, who wrote a brilliant book in the 90s called The Holographic Universe, told a story in that book which he experienced, which absolutely sums up, encapsulates what I'm saying here. He said that his father had a party for friends, and he had a stage hypnotist come along and to do party tricks for the guests for a bit of a laugh. And he got people, for instance, to eat a potato thinking it was an apple. They were tasting an apple. Why? Because what we call the five senses are frequency decoders. I mean, the ear is a classic, but they all work on that principle. And they send these decoded vibrational messages to the brain in the form of electrical signals. And it's the brain that decodes those signals into our experienced reality. And we talk about seeing with the eyes. We actually see with the brain, with the visual cortex and all that stuff. And so what happens is the hypnotist implants into the brain, in other words, programs the computer to believe that it's eating an apple. And so when the electrical signal of the potato goes to the brain decodes it in the way that it's been programmed to decode it as the taste of an apple. I mean, things like MSG and food are doing this. They're tricking the brain to decode more taste than is actually in the food. That's what they do, monosodium glutamate and all this stuff. He, in this party story, at one point, this hypnotist had a man called Tom, and he said to him when he's done a few tricks, he said, when I bring you back to a waking state, you're not going to be able to see your daughter in the room. At which point the hypnotist led the daughter to stand right in front of her father. He then brings him apparently into a waking state, and he said to him, "Tom, can you see your daughter?" And he's looking around. He said, "No, she's not here. She's standing in front of him, like a few inches away. She's giggling. He can't hear her." The hypnotist then goes behind the daughter and puts his hand in the small of her back and says, "Tom, I'm holding something. What am I holding?" And he says, "You're holding a watch." It seemed a ridiculous question because it was obvious to him. He said, "There's an inscription on the watch, Tom. Can you read it?" He read the inscription, peered forward and read the inscription. Now, what I'm describing, of course, is impossible if the world is what we're told it is, which is this solid reality of things that are out there. But from the perspective that I'm talking about tonight, Rob, becomes perfectly explainable. His daughter exists in an energetic form that is outside of the visible light decoded world, if you like, or the decoded world that we see as the solid world and people and bodies and walls and everything. And if he doesn't decode that frequency field into a holographic form, like the computer putting the electronic circuits onto the screen as websites, etc., then she doesn't exist in his decoded holographic solid physical experienced reality. Everyone else in the room does, all the furniture does, the walls do, the pictures do, because that's not been interfered with. But because the hypnotist has implanted the program, the firewall, into his computer brain, it's not decoding her, and therefore it's not bringing her into a holographic form, which he sees. And because she's not there in a holographic form, he can see what's behind her, i.e. the watch. Now, if you take the example of China and the Internet, the Chinese people cannot access vast chunks of the Internet that we can, because it's firewalled off to stop them accessing information that the government there don't want them to see. Now, this matrix is not a malevolent thing in itself, I would suggest. It's an experience for consciousness to experience a reality. But it's been hijacked, or at least this part of it has. It's been hijacked in terms of what we are accessing, and we're accessing a very small part of possible reality, even within this the limitation of this energetic construct that some people call the matrix. And the way they've done it is to manipulate the decoding process in a much more sophisticated way, but in pretty much the same principle way as the hypnotist manipulates reality for the stooge on the stage in hypnotist stage shows. They've done it collectively. They've affected the range of frequencies that we are accessing as a matter of course. Therefore, they are limiting our levels of awareness. And when people suddenly have this shift, more and more people are going through this now, where they suddenly see things they couldn't see before, and they're going, "Why didn't I see it? It's so obvious." It's because they've shifted in the range of frequencies that they are accessing, and therefore their level of awareness expands. Their point of observation moves. It's like moving from within the prison to outside the prison. Outside the prison, you look and you can see the walls, and you can see the guards on the go up and down the walls. You can see the barbed wire. You see you're in a prison. But when you're in a room in the prison and there's no bars to see, you can think that actually you're free. And this is the principle under which the mass of the people are controlled. We don't even know how we create reality. We don't even know that we are creating reality. And those people who are behind this mass control absolutely know how we create reality and manipulate us to create the reality that suits the agenda, which is, I am powerless, I am just Joe Public, what can I do? I'm just an ordinary Joe. Once you fall into that mode of self-identity, then the few can control the many with their hands tied behind their back, really.
David, where does theology and religion fit into this? Because religion itself is a control factor.
Exactly. You see, it's one of the things. I did an event in London at a big venue called the Brixton Academy, 2,500 people last Saturday. And I went through this. We may not have time to go into it tonight, but it's very clear to me that the gods, quote, which has been translated into God singular in so many religions, are actually the same gods. The major religions are worshipping the same gods. The Eastern religions are worshipping the same gods. The Freemasons are worshipping the same gods in their rituals. And the Satanists are worshipping the same gods. They've been manipulated to do this, and the gods are under different names. And everyone thinks that they're worshipping something differently when actually it's the same entities. And what happens, this phrase that we have, energy goes where attention goes, or energy flows where attention goes. Yes, it does. And worship is a massively more powerful and focused version of attention. And so when you can be manipulated to worship something and worship an image which represents something symbolically, you are flowing your energy and your attention and your connection, energetic connection, towards that focus. And all these different symbols for the deities around the world, at least the overwhelming majority of them, are symbols for the same entities, which we are then, through manipulated free will, making a decision to make an energetic connection to. And when you are then going through this religious process of I give myself to the deity, I worship the deity. I give myself away to the deity, which is basically what it's all about. You are not only making a energetic connection, you are making a free will decision to give your power away to the deity. And basically, I say we. I mean those that do this are feeding these entities with their own energetic field. They're being vampired, and they're giving permission for that vampiring because of the way that religions have been set up. It's no accident that the major religions came out of the areas of the world where this interbreeding between a non-human race and humans, creating hybrid bloodlines with a hybrid DNA, were in the areas where this is well documented to have happened in the ancient texts. This is where the religions came out of. I mean, you talk about, Sumer, which became Babylon, which is today now Iraq. Out of that area of the world came Christianity, came Judaism, came Islam, and all the rest of it. And they're based in different ways on the ancient sun god, moon goddess religions. They're all different versions of this. It's, again, no accident that you see sun and moon symbolism all the way through the religions, and you see it in Freemasonry and the other secret societies, etc. It's because they're all different versions of the same thing. I mean, you look at the Eastern religions, again, the sun god and the moon goddess and related deities come up all the time. And if you look at, in my last book, my most recent book, The David Icke Guide to the Global Conspiracy, I've got a picture in there. I go into all that in this book, and I've got a picture in there of an original depiction of the sun god and moon goddess from around 2000 BC in this land of Sumer, Babylon, which became Iraq, still a place called in Iraq.
David, stand by. We have to take another break. We'll be back on the other side of this news break as the X Zone continues with our very special guest, David Icke. www.davidicke.com is his website. David Icke and I return after the news as the X Zone continues right here on the Talkstar Radio Network.
Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more? Get ready for a toll-free number to Associated Tax Relief. Associated Tax Relief has helped others settle their tax debt with the IRS for mere pennies on the dollar. Associated Tax Relief's accountants, attorneys, and tax preparers are experts at negotiating with the IRS to settle your debt and put an end to the letters, wage garnishment, and hassles. In fact, the IRS is offering you a one-time opportunity to pay your tax debt for less than what you owe. You owe it to yourself to find out how you could save literally thousands of dollars on your tax debt by calling for a free consultation. There is absolutely no cost or obligation for this free tax consultation. Get the facts on how Associated Tax Relief can help you settle your debt with the IRS. Call now, 800-655-3298. Don't wait another minute. Call for your free consultation at 800-655-3298. That's 800-655-3298. 800-655-3298.
Always wanted to play the guitar? With the Victor Lee Guitar Method, if you've got a song you can hum in the shower, in just one easy lesson, you can start actually to read sheet music and play the guitar. You'll be playing beautifully in no time, and the tunes you write can actually be played on other instruments using the government-endorsed Victor Lee Guitar Translator. Victor Lee's amazing offer is online at www.victorleeguitarmethod.com. Learn how to play beautifully the guitar and read music and translate the music you write to be played on other instruments. Music is the international language, and the copyrighted Victor Lee Guitar Translator instructions are available in most languages spoken around the world. Go now to www.victorleeguitarmethod.com. Open yourself to a wonderful world of music.
Hi, this is Eric Rawls of Cosmoverse.com, and you're listening to Rob McConnell in the X Zone.
Hi, this is Blade Runner, and you are listening to Canada's #1 paranormal radio show, The X Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Hi, I'm Laura Sabrin of Feast to Fields Organic Vineyards in Jordan, and you're listening to Canada's #1 paranormal radio show, The X Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Hi, my name is Lady Ashley, the White Witch of Niagara-on-the-Lake, and you're listening to Canada's #1 paranormal talk radio show, The X Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Welcome to The X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Well, I remember it all very well. Looking back, it was the summer I turned 18. We lived in a one-room run-down shack on the outskirts of New Orleans. They didn't have money for food or rent, to say the least. We were hard-pressed. Then Mama spent every last penny we had to buy me a dancing dress. Well, Mama washed and combed and curled my hair, and then she painted my eyes and lips. Then I stepped into a satin dancing dress that had a split from the side, cleaned up to my hip. It was red velvet trimming, and it fit me good. And standing back from the looking glass, there stood a woman where a half-grown kid had stood. She said, "Here's your one chance, fancy, don't let me down." She said, "Here's your one chance, fancy, don't let me down."
David Icke's our very special guest. And David, do you remember reading the old Superman comics? And in some of the comics, Superman was responsible for these cities that were in massive jars, and within these jars was reality, as these little civilians knew of their reality. And you know, we program children, and we are programmed when we're born. We're basically clean computer disks, and society and those in charge of society dictate what we learn. Is this all part of their main plan? Is to condition us so that we are at their every beck and will?
Yes, it's about programming the computer, the body computer, the holographic computer. We are not the computer. We are consciousness. We experience this reality through the computer. If my consciousness, like all consciousness, higher awareness, is vibrating much too quickly to interact with this reality, this visible light frequency range, which is actually tiny. So if I wanted to hold this phone I'm holding, my consciousness couldn't do that, because just as radio stations and television stations share the same space without interfering with each other, it's the same with all these different realities that are there to be experienced in what we call creation. So I have to take on, like everybody, an outer shell, or project an outer shell that is vibrating within the frequency range of the reality I want to interact with, and then I can hold this phone and I can pick up a cup and have a cup of tea and all the rest of it. And what's happened, Rob, is we've been manipulated to identify who we are with the vehicle, rather than what we really are, which is infinite consciousness connected to all other consciousness. We are not even a droplet in the ocean. We are the ocean. I mean, if you put the droplet back in the ocean, where does the ocean start and the droplet finish? They're all one, and we're all one. We have a different point of observation because infinite consciousness is all possibility, infinite possibility. And, you know, I do hear people, and I do understand it, when you talk about infinite consciousness and oneness, where they're saying, oh, so everyone's the same, are they? Well, I'm infinite consciousness, yes, so am I, mate, and all this stuff. No. That's what happens when you get disconnected from the greater awareness and you're operating on a tiny range of frequencies. That's when everyone starts to look the same and act the same. It's because they're on the same, they're accessing the same desperately, tragically limited range of frequencies. So they reflect that in their attitudes and their, what do we say, narrow-mindedness, closed minds. Exactly. We say what the reality in these everyday phrases. And when you open up to a greater awareness, you become a unique expression of that oneness. And because oneness is all possibility, to express and celebrate your individuality, your unique point of observation within the whole, is to celebrate the unity of everything. It's not people get confused, I think, with this thing about the collective connectedness of everything and individuality, as if somehow you lose your individuality. The two are the same. It's just your point of observation. When people talk about waking up and seeing what they couldn't see before, what's happened is the point of observation has moved. That's what's happened. They're looking at the same thing from a different angle and therefore seeing it differently. And you're absolutely right, Robin, you know, the point that you're making, because we don't even arrive here in many ways with a clean computer disk, because we inherit the hard drive through the DNA, and therefore we can be subject to emotional and mental reactions to things that actually are something that's already within the software. And then, of course, through what we call education, my goodness, wouldn't it be great if we had some of that? Yeah. And peer pressure and experience as you move through your life here. You also, as you rightly point out, downloading, that's the word, you're downloading more and more information, which is affecting and programming the computer's version of reality. But you can move beyond that. You know, people get caught when they look in the mirror and they say, that's me, instead of that's what I'm experiencing. They get caught in what I call body consciousness. And body consciousness filters reality through the five senses. Once you open your mind and you start to move your point of observation to a much more expanded awareness, much more expanded area, if you like, of infinite consciousness, then you can start to drive the computer, or work the computer instead of the computer working you, which is what happens when you get caught in body consciousness, because body consciousness looks through the eyes, the ears, etc., to get its fix on reality. Now, if you can get people in that mode and then control the information they receive to get that fix by controlling the media, by controlling education, you are isolating the computer from infinite consciousness and that point of observation, and then programming the computer through the eyes and the ears with the reality that you want people to have. And this is the real bottom line reason behind the microchip people, which I've been talking about God, so long.
Yes.
And it's beginning to happen now, of course. And it's not just about electronic tagging. That's one level of it, yes. But the real thing is to get access to the body computer through the microchip. See, in a computer on your desk, the central processing unit, which filters the information traffic, etc., the CPU, is a microchip. In computer language, they call the CPU in a desktop computer the brain of the computer. So if you can introduce into the body computer a microchip, you can actually introduce an alternative brain in some ways, at least short-circuit it by hijacking the electronic traffic and decoding it in a different way that suits your agenda. This is why they want it. They want to stop people waking up. That's the real reason for the microchip.
So what can we do to, if it seems to be all in order, what is the final outcome going to be, David? David, are you there? Did we lose David? Batman? I believe that we had a telephone failure with our guest, David Icke. We're going to try and reconnect with him momentarily. David Icke is our special guest. www.davidicke.com. Still to come on tonight's show, Joshua Shapiro will be joining me in the next hour. We're going to be talking about crystal skulls, and we'll also be talking a little bit about the Indiana Jones movie that is out. Apparently, it's not doing as hot as they thought it would, and that comes to a surprise to all of the network executives. David, do we have you back?
Hello, Rob.
Oh, welcome back.
Everything went quiet. I was talking away to myself. It's a conspiracy.
Wouldn't doubt it. So David, what is the end result supposed to be? What are we working towards, or what are we being programmed to be?
Well, there's multi-levels to this, multi-levels to the rabbit hole, if you like, and I haven't got to the bottom of the rabbit hole. I haven't got nearly to the bottom of the rabbit hole yet, but I've got a long way down there after 20 years. And if we just can talk about the level of that we're experiencing, because there are much deeper levels from which this is being projected. But the idea is to create a situation where this reality is so manipulated that for consciousness to come in here, it comes in through a physical form, and the physical form is microchipped at birth. That's the idea. I've been writing about this for years, nearly 20 years. The idea that they're moving towards is they microchip children at birth, and that, of course, means that they have external control from birth, and make it very, very difficult for consciousness to express itself in this reality outside of the control system. In daily experience, they want people to be subject to constant surveillance. This is not there for those who are just going with it and not asking questions, clone-like. They're not a problem. All the surveillance is to identify and keep tabs on those who show any signs of waking up and seeing through the control. And they want a global political structure which has a world government controlling a world army, no national armies at all, a world central bank that would control all finance, a world currency that would be purely electronic in the end, no cash and no currencies that you can hold in your hand. Of course, this has fundamental implications for freedom, because if you go into a store or whatever now and you hand over your electronic money in the form of a credit card and the computer says no, won't accept it, you can still just pay cash. Once they've taken cash out of circulation and the computer says no to your card or your microchip as it's designed to be. That's what the money's supposed to be exchanged through the microchip as well. Then whoever controls the computer is completely controlling your ability to purchase anything. And this is the level. I mean, it's basically Orwell's 1984 and then some. And when I look at Orwell's background, very, very heavily involved in politics at a deep level and the establishment in many ways, and was so unbelievably accurate with 1984 in relation to what's happening now. There's no way he was doing all of that from imagination. He must have had an inkling of where the agenda was moving, because, you know, as I've been pointing out for a long time, it became very clear to me early on in this research that this agenda is not made up by the week or the month or the year. This is like a biorhythm chart. It's projected forward a long time in great detail. It's extraordinary the level of detail they've gone into in the forward projection. And therefore, once you understand what the agenda is, you can start to predict the future quite accurately in terms of theme, if not detail, because unless something happens to block the agenda, and the agenda is going to unfold, and if you know what the basic agenda is, you can start to say what's going to come. And one of the major reasons that vast numbers of people are turning to my information now, my books and stuff, is because of what I wrote years ago, which is now happening. And I wrote years ago what is happening now from research of the agenda and what was planned, and because nothing of significance has happened just to block that agenda yet, it's unfolding. So it's not prophecy. It's just knowing what they want, and as long as no one stops them, they'll get what they want.
If we're living in a matrix where reality is what we believe it is and not what it really is, then what about the research and the scientific exploration that goes on? What about the end of the doomsday prophecies that everybody talks about? Has this all been part of a great stage play put on for ourselves by ourselves?
Well, I don't know about by ourselves in terms of the mass of humanity. I think it's been put on. You see, reality is nothing like we think it is. We think of reality in terms of past, present, and future, for instance, when actually they're all happening at the same time.
Right.
They're different scenes in the same movie. If you have a movie on a DVD and you play it in your television, whichever scene you're looking at, you perceive to be the present. The scenes you've seen, you perceive to be the past, and the scenes you've yet to see, you perceive to be the future. And yet, all those scenes exist on the DVD at the same time. And reality is like that, and it operates in cycles, and these cycles can be changed because we are not only decoding the information. That's what it is. It's all about information. We're not only decoding reality from the holographic Wi-Fi internet, the matrix, we're also putting information into it. It's an interaction, and so we can change the matrix as much as certainly to a large extent, as much as the matrix can change us.
David, stand by. We've got to take our final break. David Icke is our special guest. www.davidicke.com. We'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue live and around the world right here on Talkstar.
If you currently have a short-term fixed-rate home mortgage, you do need to listen to this. The mortgage industry is rapidly changing, and no one knows that better than your friends in the money business, Prime Pacific Capital. Every day, new guidelines are making it more and more difficult for homeowners to refinance the current mortgage. Don't get caught with the high interest rate and increased payments once that loan automatically adjusts. Interest rates are still low. Call Prime Pacific Capital today and refinance into a long-term, low low-rate fixed mortgage. No matter what your credit situation or what state you live in, Prime Pacific Capital will work to secure a new loan for you. Don't count yourself out until you give us a call. A loan specialist is standing by to assist you with your free consultation. Make that call today. 1-866-464-1800. 1-866-464-1800. Call Prime Pacific Capital at 1-866-464-1800. Hey, hello there. I'm Victor Ives from Talkstar Radio and our new commercial-free movie channel, White Springs TV. You know, for over 2.5 decades, I hosted Golden Age of Radio on hundreds of radio stations across America. And now I'm proud to be part of bringing you the Golden Age of movies and lots of family-friendly movies without commercial interruption. Find out about White Springs TV online at www.whitesprings.tv. It's free because we do have commercials between the movies while we present cartoons, musical shorts, previews, classic TV, special entertainment, and informational features. See it online at www.whitesprings.tv and on a growing list of TV stations and cable systems, as well as direct from space anywhere in the U.S.
Not a free man, but neither am I chained. And I am not a wise man, but neither am I rearranged. I am not a new man, but neither am I old. Not a rich man.
David Icke has been our special guest in the first 2 hours of tonight's show. First of all, David, thank you ever so much for joining us for 2 hours. It's been a great pleasure having you on, and I hope that we get the pleasure of speaking to you again in the future.
Yeah, it's been well, I'd say a great pleasure. It was a great pleasure once I woke up, yeah. It's 5 to 5 now, start of the day.
Tell me, David, where do you see humanity 5 years from now?
Well, where do I see humanity now? At the fork in the road, really. If we go down the road that we're going, then we'll be within 5 years to 10 years in a global fascist dictatorship in everything but name. They'll try to hide the fact that that's what it is, but that's what it will be in terms of experience. I mean, it's unbelievable what's happening around the world now in terms of control and surveillance and the destruction of civil liberties. If we wake up and in enough numbers, and I have to say, when I started out on this journey 20 years ago, I was talking to next to nobody. You're talking to a man who's spoken in Chicago to 8 people. And I think that they've come to the wrong place, most of them. And now 2,500 on Saturday, which was sold out 3 months in advance. And in the next in August and September, I'm speaking in Croatia, in Romania, in Italy, and in America, in California, in Santa Clara, at the end of September. And so, I've seen in this period of particularly the last 10 years, a massive wake-up happening all over the world, not just in some countries. Humanity's collective memory of who we are and where we come from is beginning to stir. Its curiosity is beginning to stir. The concrete is beginning to soften. And if that continues its exponential curve, then 5 to 10 years from now, we could be living in a world that is very different to the one we live in now, in a very positive sense. It's down to us, and it's a choice. We can live in the prison cell, or we can throw it open and refuse to accept it. It's a choice, and we will experience our choices as we do all the time.
Again, David, I want to thank you very much for joining us tonight. It's been a great pleasure, and I look forward to the next time when you and I meet back here in the X Zone. Until then, David, take care of yourself and keep doing what you're doing.
Okay, Rob, well, I don't know any other way. Thanks very much.
Take care, my friend. Bye-bye now. David Icke, www.davidicke.com. I've always said that people are tired of being sheep. Now they want answers, because the shepherd that we've had up to now just has not been able to give us the answers. So when people can't get answers from those that they believe they can, now they have to make their own minds up, and they're moving. And this is why so many people are moving away from theology, because theology offers no more questions. Theology has not progressed with man. As we have learned and progressed into the future, theology has stood still, kind of spinning its tires in the mud, saying, hey, wait, don't leave me here, don't leave me here, come back, come back, come back. Sorry, it doesn't work like that anymore. When we come back from the news at the top of the hour at 6.5 minutes past, I'll be joined by Joshua Shapiro. We're talking about crystal skulls the next hour. That's 1-877-528-8255. It's toll-free throughout the U.S., Canada, Alaska, and Hawaii. I'll be back with Batman and Joshua Shapiro on the other side of this news break. Don't go away.